Hi, I'm Caroline Mitchell, canine behaviourist at Good Doggy. So I want to talk a little bit about separation anxiety. Lots of my clients come to me and they say they have separation anxiety with the dog and they've struggled to fix it. Most training plans and things that you'll get off the internet will follow one kind of set routine. It's just make a safe space and then start increasing the amount of time that your dog's left on their own for. And that works for a really small amount of dogs. There's quite a few different kinds of separation anxiety. I'm going to talk about 3 of them today and why they're different. But if you've struggled to fix separation anxiety, then this video is for you because you might find some useful tips here about what kind you have even, and why it doesn't follow the normal patterns of fix. I say normal because actually it's a small minority of cases that it actually does work for. There are many cases, many different types, and also they all have their own solutions. Some conflict with others. And if you've been working with a dog with separation anxiety, then you'll be well aware that not everything that you've learned on the internet or in books or whatever like that has worked for your dog. So let's go through these different kinds. So you might have a dog that is struggling to settle. So the dog that can't settle typically will show no signs really of anxiety until you've been gone a while. This dog, maybe you'll be able to give them stuff, you'll give them puzzle feeders or Kongs and that kind of stuff, and it keeps them quiet for a bit. So it helps them a while. They might just lie in their crate and they might lick away at their Kong or do their puzzle, find all their treats, that kind of stuff. But once that's all run out, that's when you start to see the problems happening. So this dog has become overstimulated by their environment. When we're there, we are able to help them a bit, we guide them, we play with them, we do things like that. But once we're gone and the activities have run out, this dog is now looking for something to do. We're not there to tell them that they can't do this or they can't do that. So they've got free rein. So this dog might be now looking for a new toy. They might be trying to tear something or chew on something. Maybe they're now chewing your furniture. And what's happened here is that this dog has too many toys, which are stimulating kinds of toys. So this dog is now becoming addicted to that kind of arousal. When we get too many of those things, their arousal levels get raised and eventually they kind of find it hard for them to drop. So they're always looking for the same level or higher of excitement from their toys. So something they might have found brilliant and wonderful when they were a puppy no longer really cuts the mustard with them now. They're bored of it because that level of need has gone up a notch. They need more and more excitement from their toys. So we just keep buying them more. And I see this a lot when I work with dogs with separation anxiety. The place is filled with toys. This dog will also probably be getting too much exercise as well. So again, when they're not being stimulated at home, they're going out for a walk and they're getting stimulated there as well, and they're getting more than they need. So the point of exercise is to drain excess physical energy, not all of their energy. And depending on the way you walk them, it might not drain very much mental energy. So refocus your walks and make the most out of mental energy draining rather than making them highly charged physical things. You might find that cutting your walks in half and then just adding something physical to give them a challenge, do some training with them, teach them a new trick, do some scent training, get them to find their treats in the grass or their toys, anything like that. Something really challenging and interesting for them to do, which isn't just running about and chasing balls and things, which is generally where this type of situation ends up because you want to drain the energy as fast as possible because we think that's the problem, but it's really not. Maybe also this house is quite busy. If there's lots of people coming and going, maybe you've got lots of family members that have different times. Maybe you've got kids that go to school, different times they're coming in and coming out, going to clubs. Then you've got adults coming in at different times from work and things like that. So if there's lots of coming and going, you might even have an adult that's working from home, which more and more is likely. This is going to prevent your dog from taking proper naps during the day. So they're going to become quite stimulated and they're not getting downtime with all of this other stuff going on where they can just kind of relax and kind of stress and excite themselves from all this stuff. So they're never going to get a break from it. So basically their brains are fizzing from the moment they get up to the moment they go to bed. This becomes a problem only when we leave them on their own though. So the rest of the time it doesn't feel like a problem because it's just what it is. But when we leave them by themselves, then that becomes quite focused onto stuff like chewing the furniture or trying to get out of a crate. These are the dogs that can bust a crate. So this is the problem. What we need to do is we need to help them learn how to be bored and what to do with that. It's pretty normal. Dogs are supposed to be bored for a good part of their day. They're supposed to be chilling out and just resting and not doing too much. I know when we get puppies, we like to play with them. We think they need lots of play, so we play with them all day long, but actually they need quite a lot of rest. So playing with them is good, but when you do it too much, then it stops them being able to settle properly and get that rest, or it just cuts into that rest time. So have a wee look at your dog. Do they get enough sleep? Most dogs should be getting between 16 to 18 hours of sleep in a 24-hour period. If this is your dog, then they're not going to be getting that amount of sleep. So we know that that's a big problem for them. So we need to teach them to be bored. We need to remove things that are highly stimulating them and only give them to our dog at set times. There's nothing wrong with any of these toys. It's just about controlling them. So you can bring them out at set times. You can have some real manic play. And it's fun to play with your dog like that. And it's fun to see your dog playing like that. But then we take them away and we have downtime. So we're just going to make our environment as boring as possible. And all of these exciting things only come when we're ready for them and prepared for them. So our dog knows when they're not here, that's time to switch off and just chill out for a while. You might have a dog that is actually just really frustrated with barriers. This is actually really common, and frustration is becoming increasingly quite a destructive problem for dogs. Dogs are seeing barrier frustration much, much more than they ever did before. We are controlling where they go and how they go there more than we ever did before. Dogs are on leads a lot more than they used to be. And when they're in the home, we use things like crates and doors to control which areas of the house they go into, things like that. And this is all adding up and becomes a frustration. Barrier frustration is a big deal. Barrier frustration might also present itself on a lead as a kind of a lead aggression. So when they're on there, they're quite reactive to dogs maybe, but when they're off the lead, they're perfectly fine. So that's another form of barrier frustration. But we're talking about separation anxiety here. So we're talking about the behaviour that happens when you're not there. So you'll know you've got this if your dog is particularly focused on chewing doors and windows, things like that. If they are very obsessed with exits, and this could happen whether you're in the house or not as well. So that would be a big clue for you that if you go into another room and shut the door behind you and then your dog starts attacking the door, starts barking and crying, then this is a good sign that actually your dog has barrier frustration as opposed to a straightforward separation anxiety problem. When you're out for a walk, or they might not like you holding them by their collar. They certainly won't like fences or stair gates or crates or anything like that. These dogs can bust out of a crate usually quite easily. They will be the first to get it over a stair gate, that kind of stuff. And it can look quite aggressive and quite angry. Because they're really angry with this gate because it's in their way. And the thing about barrier frustration, in fact, all kinds of frustration, is that it can build up throughout the day. So, you know, the stair gate you put across the kitchen when you left the house today might have just been the final straw. It might have been a small frustration if that's all they had dealt with that day. But if they've had frustrating things that's happened all morning, then that will be the thing that tips them over the edge. Sometimes frustration can be a frustrating problem to deal with for this exact reason, because sometimes it doesn't feel like it's warranted. You know, if you've got a dog that's jumping up and grabbing at the lead or fighting with a door, it might not feel like that's a reasonable response to that situation, but actually what you're seeing is the total of all of the frustrated things that's happened all day that you haven't seen a response to. So things that make dogs frustrated can be slow feeding bowls. I talk about these a lot. I did a whole video on them because they really are not ideal for feeding dogs from. If there are other options, I always suggest taking them, because just the very act of grabbing at that bowl means that it will cause them that frustration. It triggers fight or flight, and it makes them into an adrenaline kind of state. So once they're in that fight or flight mode, they're trying to get their food, and that's just going to create a little bit of anger. But then maybe when the food is done and the bowl has been took away, then that's just maybe 10 points towards the total amount of frustration. So you're not going to see that visually. Your dog probably will just get on with the rest of his morning and he'll be fine. And if nothing else happens, it'll just fizzle away, and that will be the end of that. Needs not being met, for example, this is another form of frustration. So whenever your dog perhaps isn't receiving enough socialization with other dogs, that's very frustrating. When they see dogs in the park and they want to see them, they want to get to them, they want to go meet them, they want to say hi, they can't do that. So that's another form of frustration. When they're trying to do something, maybe they're trying to guard your house, you've had a visitor arrive, you've put them in another room, that's a form of frustration. And by the time we sort of add these all up, we get to 50 points, that's when it all bubbles over, and that's when you see a problem. And because being left on its own is a challenge all on its own for dogs, there isn't any dog that really looks forward to being on their own. So that is usually the point in time when this all just blows up, and then you start to see it. So if you want to solve a barrier frustration problem for when you're not there, you need to work on it with when you are there. So we need to fix all the forms of frustration that are there, fix all of those barriers so that they don't feel that frustration during the day. I've mentioned a few already. For example, very tightly managed dogs feel frustrated. When you do neutrality training, for example, you're asking a dog to ignore things that they really want to see. That can add up to lots of frustration. So this isn't good training for dogs that suffer with that kind of problem. If you are doing lots of very, very tight obedience training, if you've done that all morning and they've micromanaged every step, that will all add up if you have a dog that suffers with frustration. So look at all of these types of things that might be causing them frustration. Maybe going for a walk, perhaps you announce a walk, you start putting your shoes on, and then half an hour later you've got distracted, you're doing something else. This is going to create frustration for that kind of dog. Not all dogs suffer with it as much as others, but when they do, they really do. So basically what we're talking about is when expectations are not being met and when dogs are prevented from doing things that they want to do. So if you have this problem, take a look at your dog's day, note down everything that might be causing that, and start working on those things. Look at any needs that aren't being met. Does your dog socialize enough? Does he have enough friends? Is he creative? Does he get to do fun things? Do you play enough of his absolute favorite game? This happens a lot, that people, especially dogs that like to destroy things, you'll give them a toy to play with, they'll shred it up, the fur's gone everywhere, it looks like it's snowing. So you just clear that up and put it in the bin and you go, well, that was a waste of time. But that was the best 5 minutes of your dog's life. He's just had the best time. That's his favorite game. He just loves to shred things. He loves to kill his toy. So does he get to do enough of that stuff that he really loves? Because these are really good ways of sort of de-escalating frustration and disarming it. Add some choices into your dog's day as well. This is really good for frustration. If you're in the park, you've got a choice of left or right, just let your dog choose. If you've got a choice of chews that he can have in the afternoon, you've got a pig's ear or you've got a hoof, let your dog choose. It's nice for him to feel like he's had some choice in his day. We don't give our dogs very many choices, and we all like to feel like we've got some kind of autonomy over what we're doing. So that's no different for dogs that suffer with frustration. And thirdly, we have pack problems. And this is a difficult one to address because this is about the whole dynamics really of the family. So when I talk about this, I talk about that your dog is feeling unsafe with certain members of his pack. Okay, now this could be a human member of the pack. Maybe there's a person that lives in your home that is not so good with dogs. Maybe they get frustrated or they get anxious or whatever with the dog, and this could help make them feel unsafe. Maybe it's more serious than that, but even silly little things like that can make a dog kind of feel unsafe. Maybe they have maybe problems with another dog. Maybe the other dog is kind of bullying them, or maybe it's not the dog at all. Maybe it's the cat. It's probably more likely to be a cat, let's be honest. But so there could be problems that are happening within your family group, whether that is other people, dogs, cats, whoever, that your dog is not feeling safe with, and that will make them feel anxious when you leave, because when you're there, because this will come as a surprise to you that this is even happening, and that's the point, because it doesn't happen when you're there. And when you go, that's when the dog starts to feel very anxious and they don't cope very well. It doesn't have to be a bad, thing. Maybe you've got a teenager that likes really loud music and it hurts your dog's ears. Or maybe you have a dog walker or a cleaner that comes that they don't like. And they probably don't like them, not for bad reasons, just because they haven't kind of gelled with them. Or maybe sometimes when they go with a dog walker, there's a group of dogs that they socialize with there that they don't really like. I don't know. There's lots of different reasons, but this is a really tricky problem to address because nobody wants to feel like that the person that they left their dog with or another animal in the house is causing your dog upset and discomfort. And you won't know about this, as I said, because it doesn't happen when you're there. So your dog associates you with keeping them safe. And then when you leave, then they start to worry. And really, there's only one way to find out whether this is a thing. Well, there's two ways, I guess. You can ask people and see what they think about it. Maybe you do have a dog walker that comes and perhaps actually he's not been getting on with the pack and maybe they've not been able to bring it up with you yet, but perhaps they're going to suggest putting him with different dogs, which will make him much more keen to go for his walks and it could solve that problem. Or maybe you notice that it is the cat, that the cat is totally annoying your dog the whole time you're gone, and perhaps then you can just shut the cat into a different room or shut the dog into a different room so he feels safer, so you can find ways to fix it. Obviously you can't ask the cat. So what do you do then? So what I suggest then is setting up a camera in the house where you can actually watch your dog when you're not there. And this will show up relationship problems. And really the fix is whatever you discover is to fix that. The camera will show something on there maybe. And when you know what it is, perhaps it is just loud music being played, or maybe other people come to the house, your dog's really anxious about visitors or something like that, then you're going to discover it and you can address it. But yeah, that's probably the hardest one. And it's not the kind of thing people usually look at when they first start thinking about separation anxiety. But if you can discover this, then it can be the game changer. And it means you don't have to do any of that other stuff, So hopefully that's been helpful. That's just 3 different types of separation anxiety that most people don't consider. There is a whole ton more, and I'm sure I'll do some more videos of those. So make sure you subscribe, and I will come back to you again in the future with more types of separation anxiety and why they're interesting and how you would start to try and look at fixing them. Anyway, take care for now. See you soon. Bye-bye.